Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. Good morning, Data. First one in, of course. And then we got Dr. Functional. Yay. And yeah, so far I am alone. Hey, Neil. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so far I'm alone. That's okay. I'm used to being alone. Yeah, do I have more fun if Dar or Ramen is with me? Yep. But, you know, more fun doesn't necessarily, that doesn't mean I can't be by myself. I'm not a, I can, and I've got there past 24 hours. Wow. And what's really amazing is two things overshadowed a really big thing. If people wanted to dump news, get things out that they didn't want anybody to pay any attention to, yesterday at noon Eastern time would have been the time to put it all out there and nobody would have paid attention. Morning, Badger. Nobody would have paid attention to anything else because two stories was chewing up not only all the oxygen in the room, it's chewing up all the oxygen in the country. I have never, and if you really want to see the difference between the left and the right, just the way these two stories were handled. Wow. I mean, but anyway, let's start with one of the bigger stories that sort of got ignored. And let's see here. Da, 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 da. There we go. All right. Because I actually had to look for this morning. I actually had to look for it.
Freedom, personal freedom, is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what healthcare decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote. When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
All right, I've got to stop it there. I got to stop it there. That's almost halfway through his video. Well, I actually, it's almost exactly halfway through. There's only so much of this that I can stomach without commenting. The lies told, the exaggerations. And notice how it's the MAGA extremist. First, third, seventh, fourth. Come on, man. They're all unavailable for comment. Yeah. Um, you're Dr. Functional. You're right. The saddest thing is half the country believes this, and they I books being banned. Yeah. I mean, do you want your third grader being being told to read a book? or having a book read to them that explains how to have oral sex on another child their same age, and even boy on boy or girl on girl oral sex or anal sex. Do you really want a third grader to have that book in their library? I don't. So yes, that book should be banned from the library of an elementary school, of a middle school, even of a high school. Pornography does not belong in our schools. And anybody that says that that is not pornography, they're sick. They're putting their they're putting something, they can't say they're there for the children. A child Children are innocent. We should be fighting to protect their innocence for as long as we can, not exposing them to the perversions. Yeah, really, Badger, and I made a comment yesterday online. Uh, a guy made a comment about it was discussing schools, and the comment was made, well, why shouldn't gay or lesbian teachers be talking about their lifestyles to students? Broaden the students' horizon, let them know about what's out there, what's out. And I said, okay, that's fine. How about this? Let's bring in some fundamental Christians and have them teach, and part of their lesson plan, they bring in the Bible and teach religious orthodoxy. And he blew up about it. How dare you? No, religion has no place in our schools. There's a separation of church and state. Well, shouldn't there be a separation of pornography and state? Should our schools, government funded schools, taxpayer funded schools? The hell is saying government funded? It's taxpayer funded. Taxpayer funded schools, should they be pushing pornography and sexual perversions on our children? Yeah, Dr. Function, I know it's the same thing has been happening down here in the States. The scary thing about it is this pendulum will start swinging back. The reaction to the people will cause this pendulum to swing back, and I'm afraid. I am so afraid that it will swing back at just as far the other direction to a puritanical theocracy will almost be in charge. Now, you all know I'm a very religious person. All right. I don't push my religion on this stream. I don't want a religious government. I do not want the Bible I read to be the basis of the government. I do not want any religious text to be the sole basis of our government. Now, are there things from our Bible that should be ingrained, that I feel should be ingrained? Like parts of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that murder, thou shalt not murder, actually, should be part of our government. You know, nobody should have the right to take my life from me. Nobody should have the right to take your life from you. All right. Should there be taxes? Yes, there should be limited taxes. I mean, we do need to pay for the common defense. We do need to pay for our military. You know, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What a wonderful way that should, you know, there are tenets in living life that are espoused in the Bible that they're not in and of themselves dealing with the religion. They're just tenets of how to live life, how to treat your neighbors, how to treat your family. Oh my God, Duck Dog, that. You know, an Eagle, I'm surprised it's gotten this far. I really am. I thought after 2 years ago, with the uprising in that has started in Langdon and against the school boards there. Oh, congratulations. Getting a new lens, Eagle? That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. I thought after what got exposed in Langdon that school boards across the country would take note at the parental uprising. And then after what happened in I believe I want to say is out near Portland with the teacher, the 108. I have 180 days to turn my students into uh, Antifa protesters, or comments like something along those lines, you know. And the uprising where he ended up fired, and a few other situations. I would have thought that that would have been a warning flag, a red light to every school district in the country. The backlash against the school board association for trying to get parents labeled domestic terrorists. The, the nationwide backlash against that should have been a warning to these teachers and to the school boards that parents were waking up to what was going on and they didn't like it. But no, these dumbasses decided to go even further and start bringing drag queens in. And started bringing in these books that are just full of pornography. When they are talking about performing oral sex and using street language, the common vernacular, I'm trying to keep my language clean here. And they're bringing this into the schools for third graders to read. Third graders, please. That's that's not right. That's just not right. That is not looking out for your children. That's not them looking out for your children. And remember, Biden just made a comment the other day. I don't have the video because I just thought of it, so I'm not prepared for this. Just made the comment the other day about how the children belong to the state. They're our children. And he was talking as a government They're not your children. These are our children. These are my children. These are Eagle's children. These are Data Wasteland's children. These are Dr. Functional's children. These are not things that are, these are not the government's children. And too many teachers think that these are their children to raise. They are their children to mold into what they think society should find acceptable. You know, at one time, the teachers taught children how to play nice in groups. They taught children how to be polite with each other, the social, and that was it, how to act sociably. And that was part of, because teachers were, I mean, parents don't have kids in all the neighborhood kids over their house all the time. And parents are at work. The teachers, for some reason, they got this in their mindset that their morals outweigh the morals of the parents. As that one teacher in Arizona said, I've got my master's degree. What do these parents have? Are we vetting the parents of these children? Excuse me, what do you mean, are we vetting the parents of these children? We're vetting you because we're paying you to teach our children. You have to be acceptable to us, not the other way around. But this idea that Biden is pushing forward, and this government is pushing forward, that our children belong to them. And the reason for the MAGA extremists is a direct reaction to the nonsense the left is pushing. If it was not for the left pushing things so far, there would be no such thing as a MAGA extremist. Donald Trump and the Make America Great Again ideology, grouping, political wing, whatever you want to call it, is a direct result of the left not listening to the people on the right and pushing things too far. And the people on the right saying, all right, we've had enough, and we're going to take a lesson from the left. The left got their way by protesting and making noise and getting out there. So people on the right started doing it. And it was such a shock to them. The Tea Party was the beginning of that. And it was such a shock to the left that they didn't know how to react to it. What I mean, did I fall down and can't get up? Yeah, you're right, Dr. Functional. It takes it's to a point. I mean, it's to a point that when I was growing up, if my neighbors saw me doing something wrong, by the time I got home, my parents knew about it because my neighbors were willing to pick up the phone and drop the dime. That's where it takes a village. Or I could stop in over at a neighbor's house and understand where I grew up. There's a mile and a half between houses. And I could stop in at a neighbor's house and ask for a glass of water. I didn't have to wait until I got home to get a glass of water. You're right. You can't outrun Ma Bell. Hey, morning, Ramen. Ramen, you're right. It's not about morals. It's about agendas. And when these people say it takes a village, they mean it takes the village leadership. They mean it takes the government to decide how your children will be raised. It's not that, you see a child hungry or thirsty and you give them a glass of water or a sandwich. That's my idea of it takes a village. You see a hungry child, you give them a sandwich. You see a thirsty child, you give them a glass of water and send them home. Their idea is they go into the home and take the children out, and the government raises that child. You know, um, Logan's Run. A lot of the uh, dystopian novels back in the day at one time said that children would be born in artificial wombs and raised in government ran schools, and then when they were of age would be released into the populace. Children would not know who their parents were. In fact, it would be it would be against societal norms for a child to know who their parents were, who their biological parents were. Renew, yes. Sean, I did get a whooping or two by, but then I also got a butt and back full of rock salt too from a farmer. My dad laughed so hard at that he forgot to give me a whooping for it. He figured that rock salt dissolving in my back, and don't you ever get shot with rock salt? I'll tell you what, that shit hurts for days. That salt's dissolving up underneath your skin. That don't feel good. Don't feel good at all. Yeah, Logan's Run is a fantastic movie. I watch it about every 4 or 5 months. Oh, I got spanked by a few neighbors. Not hard. It's not like they beat me. And in fact, what they gave me was more of a paddling compared to the whooping I got when I got home. But that's not all we got to worry about here when it comes to Biden. I mean, that's one of my main concerns is what the left and Biden are doing to our educational system and to our school system. Remember, it was Biden's administration, people in the White House that worked with the School Board Association to draft that letter that Merrick Garland to assign domestic terrorism to any parent that disagreed with the school boards. Now, did some parents go too far? While I never saw proof of it, I wouldn't doubt there are some parents that made some comments that shouldn't have been made. I never saw proof that they'd actually done that, but I wouldn't be surprised if a parent or two did go too far in comments. But Oh, that sound you're hearing, I'm changing out syringes here for my IV, and that's me winding my pump up. So, whoops, there we go. Got to wind up my pump. Let me mute for a second so you don't hear this. Just talk about yourselves for a moment here. Okay, I'm back with you. I just got some of that crap on my hands. I tell you, what the hell is this here? Uh, Gamma Goblin. This Gamma Goblin stuff, you get that? It's a proteins, and it is sticky as hell. All right, I'm just going. Yeah, you're. Oh, that trucker, Dr. Functional, that trucker, we're discussing that here not too long ago. And, that's true sign of a tyrannical government. The steps that your government took against those protesters. I mean, closing down their bank accounts and all that other good stuff. The I don't like the title Uniparty, Dr. Functional. Um, and while I know what you're saying there, but I think it's worse than you. I think Uniparty doesn't go far enough to to expose what's going on there. All right. To me, it's a dictatorship. I used to not worry. I mean, up to even 5 years ago. I don't know when I actually started changed my mind on it, but I used to always, and I mean, I've made the statement here that there should be no such thing as term limits for legislators. The people have the right to elect who they want to represent them for as long as they want them to represent. But it has gotten to the point here with these people, with some of them, like Mitch McConnell, Schumer. I mean, Feinstein, she's, in the hospital. Well, she's in the hospital for shingles. But you've got people that are, they've been in the government for so long, they have forgotten what it's like to be a normal person. Not too long ago, um, Tucker Carlson, and I know, we'll talk more about Tucker later, but Tucker Carlson was talking to Swallow about gun control issues. And Swallow, Tucker said, okay, how about this? You have to live your life with the exact same protection my family has to live our lives with. In other words, none. You don't want any guns. You can't have anybody with guns around you. We can't afford to have Secret Service protection. You can't have Secret Service protection. You can't have Capitol Hill police protection. You have to live your lives exactly like we live ours. And Swallow just stood there and stammered around, got that deer in the headlights look in his face. Because he's gotten, I mean, he hasn't been in Congress that long, but he's been there long enough that he accepts his privileges as being a right, his privileges to have armed bodyguards around him 24/7. And that's his right to have them because he's better than the rest of us. And I understand not every member of Congress gets that way. Not completely that way. But I think that there's enough of them that do that. And unfortunately, it's like where I work. After you have so many people, a certain number of people abuse things, you got to start making rules that hurts everybody because that affects those who don't abuse them because of idiots before them. And I'm at the point now where I'm up for term limits. No more than 6 years in the House and no more than 12 years in the Senate. 3 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate, and then you're out. Okay. Well, oh yeah. No, they don't get any security, Dr. Functional. They don't. Yeah. They don't. Well, the only security they get is what they pay for out of her pockets, what they pay for out of their personal pockets. But their security can't have any firearms. All right. I mean, if they want us to be unarmed, their security, their police have to be unarmed. It's that simple. Now, Sean, I like the idea. I see where you're going there, but I like the idea of a 6-year term in the Senate, the way the Senate is set up to where 1/3 of it disappears every cycle. That keeps something, that keeps it from, I mean, like the House can do a complete 180 every 2 years because they're all up for reelection. And you do need something to stabilize. Remember, and this is something else we need to get back to. I don't believe we should be electing senators. I believe our senators should go back to being elected by or appointed by the state legislature. You know, nominated by the governor and approved by the legislature. I think we need to go back to that for our Senate so that these senators start acting like they're supposed to be and representatives of the individual states. Yeah, Dr. Functional, he didn't get all the shitbags out. He refused to believe some people were shitbags. All right. And he brought people with him who were not experienced enough. I wish we could fire a lot of the alphabet soup agencies all need to go. They all need to go. Uh, U.S. Marshal Service probably be the as close as the FBI needs to go. Uh, the CIA, they need to go. U.S. Marshal Service should be the only federal police we've got anymore. The disavowing of the jab, I personally, at this point, I think that he just got caught up in it, and this is one thing where he's having a hard time admitting that he probably made a mistake. Not it's hard for somebody like Trump to admit that he made a mistake. But some of us have learned how to do it and accept the consequences. It's hard for him to admit it. Yeah, Dr. Functional, do we need intelligence services? Yes, but the top couple layers of our intelligence services of FBI, CIA, they are so damn corrupt that it's almost like we need to trash everybody and start from scratch. I'm going. Oh, the alphabet. That's part of that alphabet soup agency that needs to disappear. The top few layers there. The ATF needs to disappear entirely. They serve no practical purpose anymore. I shared a video on Twitter a couple days ago about the ATF explaining pistols. It's a hilarious video. All right, we're done with Biden in there. Let's go to some reaction shots. Now, as we know, Tucker and Lemon both got fired yesterday. We got word of Lemon being fired first, and then I got word of Tucker. I'm not certain who was became publicly known was fired first. It just happened so quickly that both of them were fired within the same hour. And the public reactions. Now, AOC just recently said that Tucker needed to be censored. But this was her reaction to Tucker being fired.
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country. I also kind of feel like I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled. And then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something. But deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen.
Deplatforming works, and good things can happen. She just loves censorship. Now, what she said there about the villain's hand, she calling Tucker a villain. Okay. He opposed, they're ideologically, they're opposite from each other. So I can understand why she calls him a villain. All right. That hyperbole aside. All right. Not knowing what the separation agreement is between Tucker and Fox News, Fox Media Corp. All right. I would say within a year, we're going to see Tucker either on Rumble or Spotify or XMS, something like that, Sirius, with his own show. And he will be out there, and he won't be constrained by what Fox News had constraints had on him. And this young lady here will she'll be back on his hit list. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, it's funny watching people who claim they want censorship, and then, but only censorship of ideas they don't like. But that wasn't the only reaction from left towards Tucker's firing.
Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We thank him for his service to the network and host of the prior contributor. Wave. You know, we'll talk.
You know, the supposed conservative on this panel participated in that wave, the supposed conservative.
More about it tomorrow, but we wanted to make sure that we let you know what was going on.
Well, can I ask the audience if they'll help me do something? Come on, folks. Na 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 na. Hey, hey, goodbye. Na 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 na.
I mean,
sayonara.
I don't think anyone likes to celebrate the demise of someone's career, but
Well,
he
he's
is,
not-
but
he's
he is
not dead, yeah.
responsible for the demise of someone's career.
Yeah.
But he is responsible for the degradation that we see somewhat of our democracy in this country.
MSNBC and you have nothing. MSNBC has nothing to do with it. You and your group have nothing to do with it. What you guys push every day. Yeah.
Country. And I just think, as a faithful person, look at God. Look at God.
Well, and
You know?
Russian propaganda hardest hit. I mean, he's been the biggest purveyor of pro-Russian talking
Yeah.
points. So it's a good day for the Ukrainians.
Karma doesn't
tomorrow,
lose
yeah.
anyone's address.
No.
So
Well, it may misplace the address,
Yeah.
but it does not lose.
Okay. And let's see here. Just an example of two of the public reactions to Tucker's demise. But I couldn't find a whole lot of public reactions to Don Lemon's removal. You notice, Whoopi and them, they had no public reaction to Don Lemon's removal. They didn't even talk about it. AOC did not release a statement on Don Lemon's firing. Eagle, what you got to say? Oh, this TDS, you're right. Trump derangement syndrome out there is absolutely horrible. It's amazing the hatred out there. Now, on April 21st, Tucker Carlson was out giving a speech at the Heritage Foundation. And is just, well.
Must be the elitist in you.
Well, there's a lot of that still.
we've got time for 2 questions.
Great.
But all seriousness, Tucker, thank you. What a great message.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yep.
It was heartfelt.
Things go south at Fox News, there's always a job for you at Heritage.
Well, you've saved me before. So thank you.
We do that for a lot of people very happily.
An open job offer on April 21st. Amazing. Where are we going to see? Are we going to see Tucker pop up out on the Heritage Foundation? I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised to see that happen at all. Now, Meghan McCain, she just had one comment, and it was real simple. It's a bad day to be a misogynist on cable, man. So I've got a feeling that was more directed to Lemon than to Tucker. And I'm going to get into Lemon's firing here. Tucker's firing. I think he's been on the short rope for quite a while there, regardless of the fact that he's the 3 million viewer man there at Fox News. He also, the left has managed to boycott his advertisers. That he wasn't the $3 million man. He was the viewership, but wasn't the advertising dollars. And Fox News has got to turn a profit. They've got to turn a profit. And if you can't make money off the guy that draws the most, you would think the guy that draws the most eyeballs would bring in the most money. But the left, in their ways to deplatform them, got most of the major advertisers to pull their advertising from his show. So he wasn't bringing in quite the money that you would expect him to bring into the program. And, you know, that hurt also. That went against him. This $787 billion or $1 million payout to Dominion was Tucker's removal part of that deal. Did Dominion demand Tucker be removed? Is Tucker part, with this being a mutual separation of the ways, there's some other lawsuits. Some woman got a text message or something that Tucker used the C word in, and she filed a lawsuit because that word offended her. I don't know if the whatever was directed at her or not, but anyway, there's some other people that had brought lawsuits against Fox News, internal stuff about dealing with Tucker. So he was in a little bit of a bind. So Fox, is Fox saying, okay, you go ahead and walk away. We're not going to. Rumor has it he's not getting any severance pay. He's not getting $1 million or multi-million-dollar payout at the end of this contract. If that's true, then, Fox News, there's some reasons why, because Fox does have, when they fired Megyn Kelly, when she left, they gave them money. They've given other people money when they left. Wallace got money when he left. So, but supposedly Tucker's not getting any. So I think there's some stuff involved in there that only if the separation agreement ever becomes public, that we will never know, and all we can do is wonder and guess about. Duck Dog, that's the second time in 2 or 3 days I've heard about this Alabama Hot Pocket. No, I'm not going to look it up. I don't want to know what it is, because the last time I looked up something, it should have gave me nightmares. Oh, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, when he first came on the scene back during Obama's presidency, and he stood up to Obama and he went into that televised healthcare meeting with that big book of his and just all but destroyed Obama, really made Obama look bad. I had very high hopes. I mean, I was like, yes, a Republican that then he turned around and showed his true colors and refused to work with Trump when he was Speaker of the House. We could have gotten the immigration push through in Trump's first term, the first 2 years. We could have gotten so much done if Paul Ryan had put aside his personal opinions about Trump and done things for the good of the country. But because Ryan wanted to make Trump look bad, make Trump look weak, not do anything Trump wanted done, we didn't get done the things that we should have been able to get done. We could have had that wall completed by the end of the 4 years instead of just half-assed done. We could have had the security of that southern border taken care of. But no, Ryan had to be a little dick. And I lost all respect for the man. I was happy when he left. So, all right. Let's see. Now, as far as Don Lemon's being gone, supposedly this interview that I'm going to show you was the last straw. We know Lemon's had problems with co-hosts and such, with comments, such as his comments about Nikki Haley, that she was women are past their prime when they're in their 40s. And he's got 2 co-hosts there that are in their 40s. So the New York Times is saying this particular issue is what was the final straw. Now, I've never heard of this guy, Vivek Ramaswamy. I know absolutely nothing about him. This is the first time I can ever I've ever seen his face. And he's thrown his hat in for president. So, but listen to this.
With due respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to Black Americans, to say that Black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
Black
part
people,
of what secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on one second. So to say that Black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They were not secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because Black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to happen.
And you know how they got it?
War
They got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, Don, the NRA
did not play a big role in
they
that.
trained Black Americans how to use
fire.
Lemon doesn't know his history. But anyway,
firearms.
That's a lie.
But
That's not. The
it's
NRA did not play a big role.
This is just historical fact. But
It's
down
not
the,
historical
the,
fact.
the part that I
Just-
find
Look, watch her. She is like, she's pushing it on her earbud. She's trying to listen to what's being said. She is absolutely. She wants to be anywhere but there right now.
because you say it's historical
the
fact.
part that
it's
I
not
find
historical fact.
insulting is when you say today Black Americans don't have those rights after we have
The
gone
fact
through
that I find
civil rights
insulting
revolution
is
in this
that
country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I
know
have
the
a different
freedoms
point
that
of view.
black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without
shouldn't
me
express your
regarding
views,
you as a
but I think
black
it's
man,
insulting that
but
you're
me
sitting
regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
that you're
That's what I
sitting
think we
here,
should see.
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me.
Whatever ethnicity.
about-
No, so she reached down, grabbed her cell phone. She's getting a text message from someone because she can't hear what's going on between these two, between Lemon yelling at this guy.
what it's like to be black. in
Whatever
America.
ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on the
debate. but I think
content
you should-
of the
if you're gonna
ideas.
do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a
I
fair
think-
way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay,
with-
but we
with-
appreciate you coming on.
With
Thank
due
you for
respect,
that.
Don, I look forward to
Thank you very
continuing
much.
that
I appreciate
conversation.
it. We'll
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, Papa.
We'll talk about China.
Yes, let's talk about
next
China.
time you come back.
Oh, thank you. Much to say on declaring independence from China.
Okay,
Something you
can
can
we
add
move
on.
on now, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lemon completely destroyed that interview. She was supposed to be getting in there, as you can tell, asking some questions about beyond the one comment. And Lemon just refused to let it go. And supposedly that argument was the final straw for Lemon's career there. Yep. Now, but I didn't see, I tell you, there's people like me, it's like, we're like, okay, he's finally gotten fired. We've been expecting this for a long time. I mean, it's not like, Cuomo got fired, Chris Cillizza got fired, the Thumb got fired. CNN was doing housekeeping. The new guy coming in at CNN, and he was doing some housekeeping and clearing out some of the people that had given CNN a bad name. And we knew that, everybody knew that Lemon was on the chopping block or next in line. It was just a matter of when or would he tone things down enough that he wouldn't get chopped. Would he take a lesson from everybody else? Because he was given a lot of extra chances. Yeah, Don, you're right, Functional. Tucker's going to have a lot of options. He can go to the Heritage Foundation. He can do the Rumble. He can go Sirius. And it's not like he's scraping by on nickels and dimes anyway. He's quite the wealthy individual. He's a smart man. I'm going to assume he's got a few $1 million sitting in his personal bank account that he's earned, let alone the money his wife's family has. So, but Don Lemon, he's oh yeah, I saw that was what, about 9 years ago or so he come out with that. And then, he at one time he was, pull your pants up, speak proper English. He was all about that for a short period of time. And then he turned into a race baiter. He started going after that. He was still going after the notoriety. And the thing is he had a solid career going as a gay black man on television. He could have been a really great model for young black men, young gay men to look up to. But he turned into a race baiter, and that overshadowed everything else about him. You think he'll be back? I don't think he'll be bankrupt functional because he's got money. I mean, Lemon's got money. So I don't think he's going to be bankrupt, but I think he is going to have a crunch in his lifestyle. We'll probably hear about him over on Mastodon. He'll be welcome over at Mastodon. So, and another story that happened yesterday. Yeah, I mean, yesterday was just full of major stories. And this one actually did take me by surprise. I mean, this is another one that took me by surprise, but it was almost buried. Susan Rice to leave role as White House domestic policy chief. Susan Rice will step down as a White House domestic policy advisor, praising Biden announced on Monday, praising her work on some of the more divisive issues for his administration, including immigration and health care. Rice, 58, previously served as national security advisor and ambassador to the UN under Obama, and was reported to have been considered as a running mate in 2020. Now, considering how good of a job Kamala has done as VP, I would not doubt that Kamala could be dumped and Susan get picked to be running mate. And Susan is as far left, if not further left, than Biden. And I made this comment yesterday. And I still believe it. There are people. None of this administration is not Biden's administration. This administration is being ran by his staff. And I would not doubt that she is lead among the staff that's running, pulling the strings. This administration setting, and Biden's just being the mouthpiece out there saying what he's told to say. That's just the way I'm seeing things right now. I mean, I may be totally wrong. It's fully possible that I'm totally wrong on that, but I wouldn't doubt it. I would not be surprised to see, because a lot of this stuff that's been happening the past 2 years is directly in line with what she pushed before. And what we got here, I don't know why this is up here. Oh, just a little aside here before we get into the last thing I want to talk about. What time is it anyway? Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Okay. This first hour's gone by fairly quickly. I was afraid I'd gone longer than an hour. I don't know why. I'll say that, and maybe because I'm getting older, and even though I've got brand new glasses with a new prescription in them, I have found that reading my computer, almost regardless of what it is I'm looking at, except for video games, but as far as documents and other things like that, using my computer in dark mode is a lot easier on my eyes. But there are some websites and such that you go to, and you use your computer settings don't override, and so it's still black on white or gray on white. That's the part that gets me is you don't have a solid black. You got a black lettering or whatever, and that's a little bit more difficult. Well, I found an extension on the Microsoft Store this morning And I usually use Chrome. Yeah, I know YouTube has a dark mode too. Yeah, I'm on Central Time here, Data. Okay, I'm on Central Time here, so I start at 9 a.m. Central, which would be 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, but anyway, I found this extension that I absolutely it's a wonderful extension. And it works great with my I use Chrome most of the time, and it's managed to override everything into dark mode. It's the blue light from the white background that causes the eye strain. Okay. So now I don't need any speed loaders. I've got two. I don't need any more. Yeah, Eagle. Well, see, I wear prescription glasses all the time anyway. So, and my doctor, I told him I was having a problem reading the computer screens, and he said he was going to have these lenses called something called digitally enhanced. And I never did. I meant to ask him what they meant by that, what it actually did, and I forgot to, because the young lady that actually takes care of ordering my glasses and such for me, I've known her now for about 30 years, and but I only get to see her probably 2 or 3 times a year, and we were playing catch up on children and grandchildren and things going on in our lives, and I forgot to ask her all about it. Yeah, this woman knows me so well that when I come out to pick out frames and such, she had my frames sitting there saying, okay, these will be your frames, this will be this will be this, and it's like, okay, I just sit down and accept what she gives me. She is that good. She knows me that well. Do you get a shoulder strain? I don't know. Why would I get a shoulder strain? But yeah, I just love this. When I was doing some work this morning on the computer, and I found that, and I head over to these other screens that are normally black on white, and they were dark mode. I was like, yes, I can finally read these. And the wife come over, she took a look at them, and she wants me to set up her computer that way too. So, all right. Chip Roy, there was, okay, when was this? The latter, I think it was back on the 21st. There was another House meeting with the judiciary on immigration. And it got a bit heated. And Chip Roy, well, let's just say he's it got a little ugly. Come on, thank you. Oh, I just realized this didn't my talk about dark mode, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me that it didn't put this into dark mode. I'll have to look into that here. Anyway, so let's listen to this here.
California, and I couldn't agree more with his characterization. And I've got a photo here. I'm not going to turn it around because it's got the faces of kids in it, but it was just sent to me just today from the county attorney from a county in South Texas that has a photo with two little kids, probably in the sort of 2 to 4 age range, jammed into the back of a vehicle, packed to the brim, smugglers running the car, and they this is the status, is the normal course of operations going on in the South Texas all the time. We're encouraging this. Our country, the supposedly greatest, most powerful, strongest country in the world, is encouraging this. The last time I was down at the border, I go probably about every couple of months, down at the river, talking to people coming, and almost every single person that I talked to were saying they wanted to come here for a better way of life. And God bless them. I mean, I absolutely admire them desire to want to come here for a better way of life.
And I say the same thing. I don't blame people who want to come here for a better way of life. Even though that better way of life is being degraded every day by the left and their ideas and their policies, I can still understand why people want to come here for a better way of life. I just wanted to do it legally. Follow our laws. Follow our laws and do it legally, and I'll welcome you with open arms. But if you break my law, you break the laws and do it illegally, you're going to feel the toe of my boot.
But they weren't, any of them weren't coming to me saying, oh, you know, I'm coming here because I'm afraid of what was happening to me and wherever it was, whatever. They wanted a job. They wanted opportunity. And I do not begrudge that. But we are allowing them to be used. We are. That's what we're doing. We are allowing them to be used by cartels for profit. And yes, some of them aren't paying cartels. Some of them are moving. I might yield in a minute, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with, is that we're setting up a situation where the little girl that I was talking to, I then broke off and talked to the two boys that were right behind her. And I asked them, where were you last night? And they were spending the night in the park across the Rio Grande. And I asked them, did anything bad happen to that girl? And both the little boys said, yes. And she was a 14-year-old girl, give or take. And they said she was sexually abused. I was talking to them in my broken Spanish. That's what they told me. Now, he said, oh, you're making that up. No, this is the reality of what happens down there. We talk to the people in the law enforcement and Border Patrol and the people down there all the time. That is no way for us to do business. Now, we can set up systems for people to be able to avail themselves of legal paths to come here. We can open our hearts, open our arms to help people to claim asylum legitimately. But you cannot have a system that is utter chaos when you have 7.7 billion other people around the world who, of course, would love to come to this country.
And when we have all these people coming to our country illegally, all that, I mean, we can't afford it. We don't have the money to give them the government resources, the taxpayer-funded resources to get them started in a business, or to get them educated, to teach them English. Just to teach them English so that they can assimilate into our country. Or else we're going to become like Canada and have a southern state speaking nothing but Spanish, and everybody else speaking English. You know, you'll have, well, you got the Spanish speaking America and you've got the English-speaking America, like you got the French-speaking Canada and the English-speaking Canada. The next thing you know, you're going to have politics. You're going to have the president standing up there giving a speech and stopping and speaking in English to say the same damn thing in Spanish. That's not being a United States. That's being a divided states, divided by language.
I yield back to the chairman. I'm sorry. I used up my time.
Time has expired. Young lady from Texas, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Roy, I actually agree with much of what you have said. I speak to migrants all the time. Obviously, I live in El Paso. El Paso has been the epicenter for some time. We had the highest number of encounters in 2022, and we are already slated to have the highest number of encounters in 2023. I speak to the migrants every time that I can. And you're absolutely right. I have seen a shift, more and more migrants who are not claiming persecution, but would like an economic opportunity. Could not agree with you more. It is more and more unsustainable over time. And the longer that Congress does nothing, the worse it will become. Where you and I do not agree, but where I wish we could find common ground is, I think, number one, we have to acknowledge this is not the fault of one person. I mean, I have.
I got to go back here for a second. We cannot accept everybody that wants to have a better economic future for themselves. We just can't do it. We just cannot accept everybody who wants the economic future. We can't do it. It's physically and economically impossible. Your open heart, look at this face, this face of, I have so much sympathy for these people. I want to welcome them all in. How much of your own money are you donating to welcome these people in? How many of these people are you putting into your home? We don't have the resources to accept everybody and anybody that wants to come to this country. We don't have the resources to do it. Yeah, Badger, you're right. I speak to immigrants all the time. They're my gardeners. They're my housekeepers.
Lived in my community all my life. I have volunteered to help migrants since I was in my 20s. I'm now 53 years old. So this has been going on my entire life. Has it gotten more pronounced? Yes, 1,000% it has. It's been steadily growing since 2014. What we need to do is recognize that part of the answer, and I'm with you, I believe we've got to have strong enforcement. We've got to know who's coming into our country.
Then why aren't you there getting the strong enforcement first? You have to enforce the laws first. You have to get control of the border first before you can do anything else. When you're being invaded, you have to stop the invasion first before you can do anything else.
We've got to have as much security and safety as possible. But one avenue for getting there is legal pathways.
We have legal pathways. We don't have to make we don't have to make it easier. We can't make it easier. These people don't care about the legal pathways. They're not abiding by the legal pathways that are currently there. So why make it easier for them?
And that's where we are not speaking to each other in a way to find some unity. But I guarantee you, Mr. Roy, that if we open up some
Point of
legal
order. The
pathways-
gentlelady's to direct her comments to the chair.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I guarantee you, if we were to work together on finding legal pathways, in addition to enforcement mechanisms, I think you would find unity and bipartisan support. So I am,
You know, hey, let me remind you, back during the Reagan administration, Reagan offered amnesty in exchange for a secure border. The Democrats accepted that deal. The problem is they didn't keep their word. The Democrats, as usual, did not keep their word. They reneged on the security right away. We gave millions of people amnesty, but we never got the border security. We don't trust you to do that again. You screwed us once. I don't trust you to do it again. The only thing I trust you to do is to screw us. I don't trust you to keep your word. And look at the two names behind you, Swalwell and Silleon. Those are two people you cannot trust. Swalwell was sleeping with a Chinese spy. Silleon is just a liar. And Johnny Blaze, you know, I agree with you. Deport them all and start over. And everyone that's been in the country more than 5 years illegally, sorry, you don't get a chance to come back. You don't get a second chance. You've been here, you were here long enough to get legal. You didn't take the opportunity. You decided to remain here illegally. Screw you. You're done. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a second bite at the apple.
I want to express that I want to solve this. I want to address this. I don't think the status quo is humane. I think it is incredibly inhumane.
What is so inhumane about holding our borders secure and only accepting in people into our country that can improve our country, not tear our country down? It's not inhumane to put restrictions on who you allow into your house. Do you allow anybody and everybody just to walk into your home? No. You only allow people into your home that are going to make your home better. You're not going to let just anybody and everybody come traipsing through.
But I think because what we have been doing is the same thing over and over and over again, building walls, seeking deterrence, let's try a new path. And that new path is opening up legal pathways. And I'll work with you on that every day of the week. I yield back.
You need to know what you're getting into. This is not cops and robbers. The enemy.
Gentlelady yields back. The question occurs on the gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I wanted to take a moment to observe some of the findings of a Florida grand jury that had been convened on this subject. And what the grand jury found was that children are often treated to the most perilous of journeys as a consequence of policy decisions that allowed them to be released into the interior of the country. And so What this Florida grand jury did was they reviewed thousands of documents from our Department of Children and Families, from our health and human services agencies, from our safety net organizations, and they issued a scathing report asking essentially the Congress to choose a different path than that has been chosen by the Biden administration. And so I want to take a moment to
Now, this report, it's disgusting. It is sickening what this report came out. The radicals on the left, you've heard me talk about how I feel about Matt Gaetz, MTG, and others like that. The past 24 hours, and what I've been watching on, well, past 48 hours for definite, but past 24 more than anything else, what I've been seeing coming out of the mouths of our Congress critters, I'm going to have to start agreeing with Dar more about about what we need in our Congress as far as conservatives. We need to get more firebrands in there. We need more people to be willing to stand up and boisterously face down these liberals, these progressives, these communists and socialists, these people that want to tear our country down in the name of humanity. They want to give up our borders because having borders is inhumane. They want to let anybody in our country because having any restrictions is inhumane. It's not fair that we won't let everybody just cross our border. We'll only let some. It's not fair to have standards. It's not fair that we deport people that cross our borders illegally and made lives here. I'm tired of hearing about this. It's not fair. Because you're not being, what you think is being fair to everyone else is destroying this country.
reflect on some of those findings in the record. Quote, our findings are clear. If any Florida resident exposed U.S.-born children to this process, they would justifiably be arrested for child neglect or worse. We do not think children should be less protected simply because they were born outside our borders and brought here by a government agency. Those here in Florida who are sending money and other aid to facilitate this process should know what they are funding. At nearly every juncture, travelers forging the Darien Gap and other notorious routes must pay handlers, armed militia groups, native tribes, local warlords, gangs, or drug cartels in order to obtain safe passage. In many cases, the toll is exacted in lives, labor, or sexual abuse. They face disease, famine, drought, a perilous jungle trek, insects, and predators, both human and animal. One child disclosed that during her journey, several of her group were robbed and attacked by rival gang members, decapitated, and raped. The child disclosed that she was one of the victims of that rape. Grand juries are not political entities. They are sourced from regular folks who review evidence, and perhaps this body, ever so partisan in addressing the issue, would glean some clarity from what we are hearing. The critique of our government from the grand jury was this: armed with a budget of billions of taxpayer dollars and working with activists and nonprofit organizations, which receive hundreds of millions of dollars in grant monies, hold millions in assets, and pay cadres of executive salaries in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, is handling thousands of foreign children in a dangerous manner. This is a nonpartisan analysis from a grand jury in my state, deeply concerned about the way these decisions that the Biden administration is making is affecting these children. And Mr. Chairman, I seek that all of the findings and presentments of the Florida grand jury on unaccompanied children be entered into the record.
These NGOs that are being paid by the government are making themselves rich. The people who run these NGOs. They're also perpetuating the criminal element, paying off the criminal element that are bringing across these illegals. Our government is funding the criminal element via the NGOs, just as they funded, well, a certain thing that happened a few years ago by Dr. Fauci's funding and where he sent money. And Johnny Blaze, you ought to be proud of your mother. She did the right thing. She became a citizen. She took an opportunity and became a citizen. That's a good thing. Oh, did they, Eagle? I did not know that. I'll have to look that up.
Without objection.
I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I yield to the gentleman from Texas.
And I think the gentleman from Florida, I think we're making those points. And look, and I'll say to the gentlelady from El Paso that I take her words to heart, and I'd be happy to have conversations about what we can do going forward. I think where we disagree, as you laid out, is I have come to the conclusion observationally, having worked on this issue as a staffer for John Cornyn, a staffer for Ted Cruz, as someone who was working for Governor Perry at the time this was being debated, then now having seen it now, up close and personally, and I was working as a lawyer on the Senate Judiciary Committee, there are multiple of those debates, is that we have to do this sequentially, in my view. Now, you might disagree, but I'm just giving you sort of an idea of how you, in my view, how you do this. In my opinion, you have to establish that you're going to enforce the rule of law. And the example of your predecessor, Sylvester Reyes, right, was a part of building infrastructure and fencing in El Paso. And I'm directing my remarks, I guess, inappropriately not to the chair, but through the chair, I would argue that the predecessor of the gentlelady from El Paso worked on building the fence there.
Would you yield 10 seconds?
I will yield, yes, ma'am.
No, he
To the
can't.
chair.
No, it's not my time.
It's my time.
All right, I yield back to gentleman from Florida.
I have a series of additional unanimous consent requests, Mr. Chairman. From the New York Times, April 17, 2020. I'm sorry, from the New York Times, as migrant children were put to work, U.S. ignored warnings.
Without objection.
New York Times, February 25th, 2023, alone and exploited migrant children work brutal jobs across the United States.
Without objection.
New York Post, March 22nd, 2021, Mexican drug cartels use kids as decoys to smuggle in members.
Without objection.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Rhode Island is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I move to strike the last word, and I yield to the gentlelady from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Cicilline, and not to Mr. Roy, but to the chair.
Hey, Spittle, thank you for listening. All right. Hey, Dart, thank you for listening, Spittle, and much love and prayers for your dad, okay? But thank you, okay? And take care of your dad, all right? And just know that you and your family's in my prayers.
This is precisely what we've been doing for 3 decades. For 3 decades, we have said no immigration reform until the border is secure.
That's because that is what was promised under Reagan. That is what the Democrat Party promised, that we gave immigration, that we gave we crap. The Democrats lied. They've been lying to us for 30 years. They don't want border security. You don't want border security. You've been lying to us for 30 years. Thank you, Dar Amnesty. They don't want, you guys don't want, you just want amnesty for everybody. So stop your lying. There are many of us who are old enough to remember this.
That's a fact. And so we've not had in 30 years, over 30 years, any new legal pathways. The closest we came was about a
We don't need new legal pathways. We need the border secure.
decade ago, and the Senate passed a bipartisan bill that would have secured historic sums for border security and at the same time opened up legal pathways. And it died in the House at that time. And so we've been pursuing that same policy of let's do enforcement only first. And then once the border is quote unquote secure, then we will do immigration reform. And so my contention is, and I think the facts support it, we have seen over the past 30 years a closing off of legal pathways. We've had walls built. We now fund DHS at historic levels. We have seen all sorts of deterrent policies at play. None of that has truly stemmed the.
Why hasn't it stemmed it? Because of people like you and the current president and the current administration that look the other way and ignore the laws that are in place. And I'm not forgetting about the judiciary that we got, the judges that declare that these immigrants have to be accepted, some of them have to be accepted, and yada 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 yada. I'm not discounting them, the damage that some of the members of the judiciary have done to us. But we need to get the border secure. We need to get the illegals out of the country. And then we can talk. We fix the problem first. And the biggest problem is the border is not secure because you people won't allow it to be done.
The flow of people in a way that would make it more manageable. And as I mentioned in some earlier comments, we've created one pathway for migrants, and that one pathway is asylum. So we should not be shocked that the asylum system is overwhelmed, overloaded.
And why was it set down to that? Because you had so many people crossing the border illegally. We got millions of illegals in this country right now. Millions. You have enough illegals that you can put them into one state and they would be a complete populace of a single state.
Overused because that's the only line people can get into. That's the only right way that many people see for themselves. I don't believe that we can take, even if we could, we shouldn't take every person, obviously. But if we want to create a more manageable system, it has to be a combination of both of those, not just one before the other. And I yield back, Mr. Cicilline.
Gentlelady yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, now you yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.
Mr. Chairman, for my time.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Strike, the last word. And so the gentlelady, what I would say is 2006 comprehensive immigration reform, which touched all aspects, security, future flow, status. 2007, 2012-13, 2018, multiple attempts by both parties in diverging places in the House and the Senate to work on various forms of, quote, comprehensive immigration reform, all of which the bow broke. Okay, no matter what your perspective is on what we should have had or not should have had in those bills, all of which the bow ultimately broke. And the point is that we've not been able to do that. I've come to the conclusion that the biggest reason why is because we have a large block of the American people who, with a very good reason, don't believe we're actually serious about securing the border in the first instance. That's the fundamental problem. And when I brought up Mr. Reyes, your predecessor, the gentlelady's predecessor, My point is, it's a Democrat, former congressman from Texas, who was a part of building infrastructure that actually did a pretty good job of stopping some of the problems that El Paso was dealing with the flow. Is it a total panacea? Of course not. But when you have policies as we do today, and the gentlelady had said something about it's not just blaming one person. I mean, okay, fair enough. I agree. We've got years of things that have led to this. But you cannot help but look at a chart of the numbers of what we've seen since January of 21 and see a direct correlation to the policy choices of the current administration in terms of what they did with migrant protection protocols in January, basically making it very clear how that would work. And if you come to the United States and claim asylum, say asylum, you'll get processed and released immediately. NGOs will move you around the country. We all know this is true. We've all been to tent facilities along the border. We see the processing. When that happens and you have a flood of people, again, remember Jay Johnson under President Obama. What was it? 1,000 a week was a crisis. What did we just have in March? 200,000. And that doesn't even include the parole numbers that were done through, I think, illegally, using a case-by-case basis to run those numbers up. So you're really looking at 230, 240. And so these numbers just blow the lid off of Jay Johnson and Barack Obama. I mean, Jay Johnson was at least credibly, in my opinion, trying to say, let's hold the line, secure the border, and not invite a flood at the border. My point being, these policies matter. And so we should try to set the standard for the world to say, here's how you're going to do it. And it's not just asylum. You got 1 million people getting green cards. There's that path. Do I think we need to adjust how we deal with future flow and deal with immigration? Absolutely. Do I think we need to have some possibilities for guest worker programs to make it work and match tech and skills and ag? Of course. I don't know anybody on this side of the aisle disagrees. But every time we try, we never get security. And every time we try to touch chain migration or family, we get blown out of the water.
Chain migration. That chain migration and net birthright citizenship. These are two very important points. You can, pregnancy tours, I believe is what the term is they call for them. People come to the United States on a visa, pregnant women in their 9th month, just before they're getting ready to download. And what happens? They download that baby's instantly American citizen. My baby's an American citizen. I want him raised. I need to have him raised here in the United States. And as his mother, I have the right to be here too. We need to put a stop to that. We need to put a stop to that. Hey, morning, CK. How you doing today? Yeah, anchor babies. Now we need to put a stop to at one time there was serious consideration of that at least one parent had to be an American citizen before, didn't matter where the baby was born. At least one parent had to already be an American citizen before that baby could be an American citizen. And I could agree with that. I could accept that. That's good. At least one parent had to be an American citizen. And then some of them had some ideas pushed forward, okay. But, some American citizens, expats, they spend, their last 20, 30 years living in Nicaragua, Panama, Europe. And, they've all but for giving up their American citizenship. They haven't voted. They haven't visited the states. They don't bank in the states. They don't do any any business here in the States whatsoever. So they were saying, okay, if somebody has lived out of country for 5 consecutive years, some have said 10 consecutive years, their children would not be automatically granted citizenship. Okay, I could live with that too. If a person has all but given up their citizenship by living in another country, their child doesn't get automatic birthright citizenship. So I can live with that. And I mean, that would not be something that I would disagree with having as the law. Yeah, you're right, Data. But see, there's also, it wasn't just Chinese, it was Japanese, Korean. There's people from all around the world doing that. So, and Mexican women from Central, not just Mexican, but women from Central and South America, ones that could, save up or they cross the border illegally just to have the baby in the States. That has not been an uncommon practice in the past. But we need to, and if you look at the 14th Amendment, I believe I got that right. That was not meant as if you look at it, if you look at the writings at the time, the debate discussions over that, it was not meant to be what it is today for American citizenship. That is not what was it meant to be. That what it is today is from judicial overreach. The judges changed how citizenship was supposed to be granted, and it's never been brought back up to the Supreme Court again to be overturned. But we need to make a change. We need to stop automatic citizenship just because you're born on the American soil. All right, Eagle. Hey, best of luck to you. Good. Stop in tomorrow. Let us know how it's working. Okay. But best of luck to you, man. I hope everything goes well for you.
And we
Would you
can
yield?
actually reform the system.
Would the gentleman yield?
I will yield to the gentlelady.
Thank you so much. And here's what I would share with you. First and foremost, yes, one of my predecessors was a Border Patrol agent who supported comprehensive immigration reform, number one.
And building the wall.
And yes, actually, you're right, he did. But the second thing that I would share with you is if you look at the data, and we really, I will share with you the data from the CBP, the numbers, we know for a fact that during the Trump administration, the numbers began growing. We know that. I visited and I brought 20% of Congress to El Paso to see the overcrowded facilities because the numbers were so high. The numbers dropped precipitously in March of.
The numbers started rising under Trump when Biden won the election, when the Democrats took control of the House and Senate. That is during the second 2 years. That is when, because the Democrats started at that point talking about having open borders. Remember at the prelims, and they asked about free medical for illegals, and every Democrat candidate stood up there and raised their hand during the primaries. That was the opening salvo for illegals start crossing the border, because they were hoping a Democrat would win and they could get free medical. When you start waving that sign out there, we're going to give you all this for free if you cross our border illegally. What's going to happen? You're going to have people crossing those borders illegally. So tell the whole story. Don't just tell the lie. Don't tell part of it. Tell the whole story about when it happened and what was going on. Show the context. But no, they're not going. This woman and the Democrats will not tell the context of what's going on.
2020 for a few months. That coincided with COVID when the border was shut down, and the numbers
reclaiming my time.
the numbers started going back up before the November
reclaiming my
election.
time because we got about 35 seconds left. The fact of the matter is, the numbers that were spiking were dealt with by the previous administration. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle may not like that, but those numbers plummeted. They plummeted, and it wasn't COVID. There were no, it was not COVID. There were significant, clear results from the policies that were adopted that stopped the magnet for people coming to the river. That's very clear from anybody we talked to at Border Patrol. And so happy to talk sidebar on that, but that's the fact. We had a flood. Trump dealt with it. We've got to not have the policies that are continuing to attract people, and that's what this bill is about.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Move to strike the last word very, very quickly. When we speak about the walls and the walls that were built, remember, most of them were not completely built. The program would have been much more successful. Just particularly what I saw even in Arizona and Yuma, if that wall was complete, if any of the walls were complete, we'd be in much safer and better shape. And that was something that Republicans and Democrats both agreed upon. So we can't use the walls as an example of a failure because we never really got to where we should be.
Would the gentleman yield?
I will.
You know, one of the other things that was just brought up that I think the two members were sort of batting back and forth, you know, they did say that the rate was rising, you know, when President Trump left office and he was dealing with it. But I heard that it went down because of COVID. When you came here, when did COVID end? Did it end on the day that President Biden took office and it spiked? So the rise during COVID is what we're talking about here today, isn't it?
Exactly, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for yielding.
No problem. I yield.
Remember, COVID hasn't officially ended yet. It doesn't end until next month. Remember that. Title 42 is still under COVID, is still into effect until next month. And we're still having 1,000, 1,500 people a day on average crossing the border illegally. What's going to be like once Title 42 is officially ended next month? It's going to make that 1,500 number look small. We'll see 4,000, 5,000, $6,000, 4,000, 6,000 people a day cross that border illegally. And we won't have Title 42 there to deport them. All right. I'm not going to get to my last two that I had sit there. So I'll save those for tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for coming out today. I really appreciate y'all. I'm glad you guys show up. And Badger, you know, when I joined the Air Force in 1978, and of course I didn't know that it had changed by then, but one of the promises my recruiters made me was that if you spend 20 years in the military and retire and have an honorable retirement, you'll have free health care for the rest of your life. All right. Well, the laws had already changed by then to where, you know, there was no longer free, but the recruiters were still using that. Okay. And even though I was verbally promised, but it didn't matter. The verbal promise doesn't override the law. I've been paying for my health care ever since I retired in '98 under TRICARE. It automatically comes out of my retirement pay. All right. My doctor visits, $36 to $40 per visit. I can remember back when I first retired, it was $15 to $20. Now it's $36 to $40 per office visit. And I average 5 or 6 visits a month. I usually don't have a week go by where I don't have a doctor's appointment of some sort. And next month I'm going to have, I've got a couple of weeks where I've got 3 appointments in 1 week. 1 week I've got an appointment every day with different doctors. So, yeah, spittle buggies, disabled, don't get free health care. But if you're here illegally, yeah, you're getting free health care. Now, I'm not pushing for free health care for anybody. But why the hell are we giving free health care to the illegals? Why are we giving free anything to people who cross our border illegally? Again, I've said this before, and I mean it. I actually mean it. A bottle of water, a bologna sandwich, and an escort and a bus trip to the border. An escorted bus trip to the border. That's what the illegals should be given. All right. But I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I do appreciate you. And I know you've already gone, Eagle, but man, best of luck on your eye appointment. I hope this time tomorrow you're seeing 20/20 out of that eyeball. All right. And everybody else, have a good day. Enjoy themselves. Really. Enjoy yourselves. Make the day the best day you can make it. All right. Be with the ones you love. Love the ones that you're with. And I don't think I've got any appointments tomorrow, so I should be back tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.